All right, Adli. Thanks for doing tough teams. I'm stoked I get to interview all you guys on the PPC team. You want to just start off, introduce yourself? Who are you? Where you're from? What do you do here at Tough? That kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. My name's Adli Kilic. I am originally from Atlanta, Georgia, currently located in Atlanta, Georgia, but I think I'll be moving back to Birmingham in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I actually got my foot into digital marketing in Birmingham at the same company where Chris used to work. So that's how I got to know someone here at Tuff before I knew anything about Tuff. But yeah, got to know that, and it's been a fast, crazy 4 years of learning everything: PPC, digital marketing, Google Analytics, all of the above. But I'm a PPC strategist currently at Tuff.
It's so cool that there are so many interconnections here at Tough. Like so many people knew somebody else, and I know that's the best place to work when, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to like see like, oh, like Richard and Raj know each other up there in like the Chicago neck of the woods, and like, oh, they know each other out in Colorado. It's awesome. And to have that kind of organic, I know for me it helped knowing Chris had been here for so long, and reading the blogs that he was writing and stuff. So that definitely helped my decision personally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so we've done a lot of work as a team, like diversifying what we consider PPC, different channels and things like that outside of just Google and Bing. Are there any specific channels that you're excited about that we're testing, um, or anything specific new that's in Google or Bing, some of these older channels, like but new updates that you're excited about?
Yeah, so a lot of this is exciting for me because I come from more of a strictly paid search background. So I'm kind of
Mhm.
branching out into all of the stuff, even the stuff that I knew about previously, the more tried and true display, YouTube, stuff like that. But a lot of the crazy automation that kind of went to light speed over the past 2 years, I was
Right,
working on a singular account that didn't utilize any of that. So I kind of, when I joined Tuff, it was like a crash course in all this awesome automation, Performance Max, dynamic search ads. You're familiar with all of it, all the bidding strategies. But
right.
it's really cool for me to see these other platforms that I didn't even know about. Obviously, I knew about Spotify, but I wasn't really thinking of advertising on there because I've been paying for Spotify for 10 years, so I don't see the ads very much. But I'm thinking of one in particular, Criteo. It's this awesome
Yep.
display retargeting thing, and I mean the results speak for themselves. So once you see that, with our ability to have a handful of accounts, you kind of want to copy and paste and see if it works for another one of your accounts, and that's another cool thing about what we do here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's really cool to be able to translate things to different accounts, and be able to test all sorts of different. That's what gets me so excited about Tough in general.
For sure.
Okay, so you are one of many F1 fans here at Tough. I didn't even really know F1 existed before I joined the team, um, and now I feel like I have that like little bit of knowledge, twofold. So, how did you get into F1? I'm always curious of how people like really indulge in their sports and their like that kind of thing. And then, what's the elevator pitch to get me into F1?
Ooh, that's interesting. So the first question, my dad watched it pretty like intensely when I was a kid, and he tried to get us into it, and it never really did anything for me. He actually took me to two races in Montreal for the Canadian Grand
Oh,
Prix,
okay,
and took one of my brothers to one or two. I fell asleep during it, so I was very uninterested. I was a little kid, but I'm old enough to remember the trip, but I was asleep. So then fast forward, I don't know, 10, 15 years later, and I'm a movie fan, so I'm watching. I think it was Rush at the time. I don't know if you've seen it. Awesome movie,
I
but
don't know.
it's a really cool Ron Howard movie, and it's like based on a true story, and it was so captivating that I was like, okay, like I'm gonna figure out what actually happened because it seemed too crazy to be true. And it was almost the opposite. It was like they kind of undersold some of the dramatic aspects of the part of the story that they tell there. And then there was a documentary about the one of the greatest racing drivers in Formula One, Ayrton Senna. He was
Okay,
Brazilian. He was kind of like everyone. I don't know. He was like up on this pedestal, like Michael Jordan almost. But he passed in a race, so it was like a big deal for the sport, and it created a bunch of new safety measures and stuff like that. But those two things kind of got me reinterested into it because they were such a good documentary and like a artistic movie, even if it was based on a true story. And
mhm,
then I started watching it, and then a couple years later, an American company, Liberty Media, purchased Formula One and started blasting as much onto the American airwaves as they could, primarily the Netflix show. So that kind of
right.
answers my second question, or your second question rather. I would probably either watch one of those movies or documentaries or the Netflix show because those are single handedly what got me and my friends from Alabama into it, which I would have never imagined 10 years ago.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that those documentary. I'm a huge documentary fan, so you pretty much have me sold there. Okay, I'll have to add that to my list.
They're good. You may have a new Sunday thing to watch
Well,
for
I know
like half the year.
that I was gonna say that's the tough part. I know you guys are, Richard's waking up at 5 in the morning to 4 in the morning to catch a race. So it's dedication.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so back to PPC for a second here. Um, One of the hardest, but also most exciting parts uh, uh, of working at Tuff and in the agency is to be able to work in different industries, and to really be able to like cater our strategy to the specific client, right? Everyone's different, even if they're in the same industry, right? Everybody has different goals and things like that. I'm just kind of curious, maybe like what your thoughts or strategy is like of how you approach PPC for different clients. Maybe for example, like ecom versus FinServ, or something along those lines. Just like what your thinking is, kind of in the beginning there.
Well, I think another great thing about Tough is that between our mentality and the clients that we work with, we're always trying new things and like daring to, scale growth in any way we can while, keeping a
Right.
close eye on it and going back to what works. So we're never discouraged from trying new things. And because we have such a diverse range of industries that we're working on, you can kind of try stuff out like not willy nilly, but I mean, you have a lot of freedom to do that stuff. And if it doesn't work, then it's like, hey, we tried it. And,
Right.
sometimes if it does work, you hit a grand slam and it's awesome. So it's really cool to see that because it almost makes you detach yourself from the industry in some ways to say like, hey, it doesn't matter. It worked for this. Let's try and figure out a way to make it work for that, even if those two things are not similar at all. So, I mean, like I've tried strategies that work on like an e-commerce outdoor extreme product that's like thousands of dollars on like a free app for like mental health or something like
Yeah.
that. And you can try it and, it doesn't always work, but the ability to have that, experience in one way and then try and translate it to another, it's really cool that that's encouraged and kind of a lot of our success.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely one of our strengths, being able to translate things that don't normally connect, and making them able to connect and learn from one another.
For sure. And then you put in like four of us together and we're all doing
Right.
all sorts of different things on our accounts, talking to each other about other accounts. It's honestly a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts.
It's really collaborative, which is something that I really appreciate about it. Um, okay, last one here, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this. You have now gotten a lot of Tough to play GeoGuesser, which is which is so addicting, and it is a silly online game. Another twofold question: can you explain real quick what GeoGuesser is, and then three tips to? And you're also very good at it. Can I get three tips to what you do when you start?
I found out about it last year. I think it got pretty, or I guess 2 years ago now during the pandemic. I think people were going viral on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube for posting it. But basically, all it does, there's a couple of different variations, but it just drops you down somewhere on Google Earth, and then you have to guess where it is. And sometimes you're allowed to drag and zoom and walk down the street just like you are in Google Earth. And yeah, I mean, sometimes it'll put you in a desert where there's nothing you can see, and sometimes it'll put you next to like the pyramids where you're like, I'm pretty sure this is Cairo, but I'm not
Right.
100%. So yeah, I mean, as far as tips, I don't know. I think Richard may be better than me at it, but I'm brushing up my game. The sun is the one thing that I like to think I'm really smart at, but sometimes
Mhm.
I've gotten like Africa and South America confused, where it's like, well, that's almost 0 points. But
Yeah.
one thing, obviously, if you can see a street sign, that's great. But I don't know. I don't know if I have tips for that. I find it fun and it's cool to just see other parts of the world that you would never see and be like, oh wow, I had no idea that was in Dubai.
Right, right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, hey, I think that the looking at the sun is something I never even thought about before you mentioned it. I'm like, wait,
I,
that's so crazy. You can use that.
that's a YouTube trick, and I feel like
Yeah,
when it works, I'm like I'm super smart, and then when it doesn't work, I'm like I shouldn't be doing that.
yeah. Oh, those are the best. Um, okay, cool. That's all I got from you. This was a pleasure, and yeah, thanks for doing this.
Awesome, yeah. Thank you for doing it, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, take care.
See ya.